What's up and welcome in. You're watching Philadelphia 76ers Now by Chat Sports. Chase Senior here with you. Hope all of your weeks are going in a great way. Coming your way on today's show, some interesting Sixers free agency rumors out there that we certainly want to talk about and uncover. But first, want to hit you with some dates of note. Now that it's September 1st, crazy by the way, feels as though New Year's Eve was just back a couple of days ago as I was partying with some of the homies here at Chat Sports. But it is September, which means at the end of the month, Sixers training camp does get underway with the preseason beginning on October 3rd with that preseason opener against the Brooklyn Nets. Will Ben Simmons play? Probably not. Either way, though, Media Day will take place in Camden on Monday, September 26th. Training camp starts September 27th, and as we know, Sixers will be practicing at the Citadel for much of training camp. A little bit of a different wrinkle there from Doc Rivers. But with Media Day on the horizon, a couple weeks away, we get our opportunity to get a first look at some of the newcomers that signed with the Sixers in free agency and ask them a couple of questions and ask them why they are now members of the 76ers basketball team. It includes P.J. Tucker, D'Anthony Melton, who I really like, Danuel House, as well as Trevelin Queen. So with that, I do want to ask you this, and I want to put you to the test here in the comment section, and I expect you to come up with a lot of creative questions here. If you could ask one player a question, what would you ask them? For instance, James Harden, what were you drinking during your birthday party on that yacht when you decided to launch your birthday cake into the ocean? That's my question that I have for James Harden. Either way, you let me know right now in the comment section. Best comments and best questions, we'll get those featured on the show next week. We begin with this, Montrezl Harrell. Do the Sixers have interest in him? And he is a good, viable backup big to bring on this roster. According to a couple of reports out there, 76ers could show interest in Montrezl Harrell as a backup big at that 4 spot, maybe a small ball 5, although I like him better at that 4 position. He does have a lot of familiarity with the Sixers organization. He played with Doc Rivers with the Clippers. That's where he was the 6th man, and for a couple of years there, he was one of the more elite players coming in off the pine. And then he also started his career with the Houston Rockets, as we know, Daryl Morey. A lot of familiarity as he was running basketball operations with that organization. Now, a lot of you are probably asking, Montrezl Harrell, what is his legal situation? Seems as though it's going to be okay and not alter his plans for the 2022-23 season. Adrian Wojnarowski reported this on Wednesday, that free agent forward Montrezl Harrell did have those felony charges of marijuana trafficking reduced to a misdemeanor possession in a Madison County, Kentucky courthouse yesterday. The charge will be expunged from his record after 12 months if Harrell gets in no further legal trouble. So it looks as though Montrezl Harrell, in terms of the legal situation that he had run into, is looking a little bit precarious and hairy at one moment because the weed laws in Kentucky are obviously more stringent and strict as compared to other states out there. He is going to be okay. If you get down with the Jane, though, I want to get to know our audience here. Then type MJ in the comment section. I'm talking about your musical interests, though. But I want you to light the comment section up. You see what I did there? I'm talking about Mary J. Blige in terms of Mary J. If you're a real one, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Either way, I want to hear from you right now in the comment section if you get down with the Jane like Montrezl Harrell. As for what he did last year, with Washington as well as Charlotte, 13 points per game, 6 rebounds, about a half block per night, and he's always been very efficient from shooting the basketball on the floor because he's really just primarily a guy who's there to operate the two-man game, throw down some dunks, throw down some alley-oops, putbacks, and all that stuff. Has a little bit of a baby hook to his game. He is not a mid-range jump shooter by any means. So he's a little bit limited in that way. But what he would bring to the Sixers team, something that I actually wouldn't necessarily hate. Endless energy and activity, a backup big off the bench at that 4 spot. He's an elite rebounder. Not really a great defender, not a great free throw shooter either. But if you're playing him on a championship level team, about 15 to 20 minutes per game, he's much more valuable in the regular season as compared to postseason play because of his lack of versatility offensively and the fact that he's not a really good defender. He can be a little bit of a playoff liability. And if you get Montrezl Harrell for cheap, again, this is a really good depth piece throughout the course of a regular season. 82 regular season games, you expect Joel Embiid to miss a few games because of injury and also just because of load management. If that's the case, you plug in Montrezl Harrell at the 5, you put him at the 4, you go a little bit small ball with him and PJ Tucker, a little bit of Paul Reed action in there as well, and then you go small ball with some creators, distributors, and shooters. Don't necessarily hate it if you get Montrezl Harrell for cheap. He's, of course, going to have offers out there. What do you think, though, Philadelphia, the great city, brotherly love? Do you want the Sixers to sign Montrezl Harrell? Give me an S for sign in the comment section or a P for pass. Before we get to Sweet Lou Williams, a reminder to subscribe to the channel. With the regular season coming up before we know it, we're going to be pushing out more content here on the channel. Right now, just such a slow spot, during the NBA schedule, and I've been taking on the duties as the full-time host of Philadelphia Eagles now. So because there hasn't been much happening, a little bit of a slow spot. I did that again on 76ers now. But trying to get to 10,000 subs. Let's try to get there as soon as possible. More subscribers, more videos, less than 1,900 people away from hitting Mo Cheeks in terms of subs. Hit that red sub button, youtube.com/76erstv. To Lou Williams now. Could there be a little bit of a reunion of sorts? So he's a free agent still, and there are reasons why Lou Williams is a free agent. He's also somewhat limited in his game. He can play offense, not a good defender, and he's a little bit old right now, but of course has familiarity with this organization. He was drafted all the way back in 2005. I remember that. I was about 13 years old at the time. 45th overall selection, and I remember it specifically because Lou Williams was one of the last players ever drafted straight out of high school. This was the last draft class in which high school players were selected. Amir Johnson actually went after him. He goes down as the final high school player ever drafted by an NBA team. That might change if we change these rules, but a cool note there for Sweet Lou. And with what he did with the Sixers, this was about toward the tail end a little bit of Allen Iverson's tenure, but Lou Williams was coming in off the bench at that time. He was pretty good there from 2005 to 2012, and then he became an even better player throughout his NBA career. But you look at the numbers there with the Sixers, you saw some promise and you saw some scoring ability. 11 points per game, 42% from the deck, a little less than 34%, but if you remember, three-point numbers at that percentage at that time, actually pretty good. And then he really started to find his stride in his NBA career when he started to go to a couple of other teams, and that's when he was able to compile 3 Sixth-Man of the Year awards. You take a look at what he did last year, though. Different player last year as compared to who he's been in years past, and of course with the 76ers. But 56 games played last year, 14 minutes per, 6 points per game, 39%, 36% from 3. And if you remember 2 years ago, second-round series against the Atlanta Hawks when the Sixers had that big lead in Game 5, it was actually Lou Williams who helped bring the Hawks back for what ended up being a devastating defeat for Philadelphia. For Lou, it's been a nice run for him. I don't know if a lot of people expected him to get drafted in 2005 and still be playing potentially in the 2022-23 season, but he's put together a really nice and respectable career. 3-time NBA Sixth Man of the Year, one of the best bench scorers in the NBA for a really long time, but he's a playoff liability at this point. And because he's 35 years old and limited, I don't think that the Sixers should take an opportunity and take a swing at signing Lou Will. In fact, I might be surprised if he ends up landing on an NBA roster, although he does have good value because he puts the biscuit in the basket. Last question for the homies before I hop on out of here. As always, greatly appreciate everybody for tuning into the show. Do you want Lou Will back in Philly? L for Lou Will, W for you think he's washed. Get those votes in. And another reminder, hit that red sub button while you're down there. When this regular season coming up around the corner, you can expect even more Sixers coverage. YouTube.com/76erstv. We chop it up with the homies. We do audience interaction better than anybody. Maybe live shows in the future if this channel continues to pop off. News, rumors, analysis, and if you want to interact with me, hit me up on Twitter or Instagram. You can do so at Chase_Senior. I made it easy for everybody out there. It's the same social media handle on both social media platforms. Now that I've taken over for Philadelphia Eagles, now they're calling me Mr. Philadelphia here at Chat Sports, and I just love interacting with everybody. We can talk hoops. We can talk birds. We can talk ball in general. We can talk life. Shoot, hit me up. Look forward to hearing from you.